My name's Faversham. Lloyd Faversham.
Good evening, and welcome to another riveting and mind-expanding episode of The Shitty Beatles. I'm Craig. With me, as always, is Colin. Thank you for taking the time. Put it right here.
Thanks
God
for having
damn
me.
it.
Pleasure to be here.
Well, you don't have to lie, but we appreciate it. It's a hell out there, terrible world, and that's why we're here for you, to provide you top-quality entertainment. So make sure to like and subscribe, and follow us on Instagram. Send us hate mail at theshittybeatles69@gmail.com. That's a sex joke, don't you know? Sex is funny. On today's episode, we will be ranking the top James Bonds of all time.
So for the official list, we wanted to rank them by overall their portrayal as James Bond, which it's ancillary from the quality of the movies themselves.
When you think about Bond as a character, you know, it conjures up to mind he's a spy. He's a stealth, smooth-moving, smooth-talking, fucking kind of dude, right? Like, what do you think of when you think of James Bond?
I agree. I think definitely very very suave, very charismatic, very smoldering, hints of sociopathy.
Yep.
Which I think is something that wasn't intentional back in like sort of the 60s, but if you put all the qualities together, it's like he's not a good dude.
Is that how you treat your friends?
He wouldn't care.
Let's go.
Badass, tough guy.
Definitely. Fearless.
Yeah.
Fearlessness, very narcissistic. Good dresser.
Has an ego, yeah.
Ego for sure, yeah.
Taste for the finer things.
Absolutely, yeah. Sort of like the Punisher, but who has way more sex.
Let's begin the list. Let's get him out of the way first.
Good morning. My name's Bond. James Bond.
George Lazenby.
Or Lazenby.
Whatever.
I agree with you that he is the bottom of the list because
He did one movie.
he's the only one off. And the other reason he deserves to be at the bottom of the list is because apparently, reputationally, he didn't want anything to do with the Bond franchise. So,
Yeah, he didn't like. I heard that he didn't take it seriously.
yeah, not the best foresight on his part. But
I
but
mean,
also because it's like if you don't want to be James Bond, then fuck you. But because who wouldn't?
I regret it. Yeah, I'd love to have done 2 or 3. I was contracted for 7, and I never signed the contract. They wanted me again. There was no doubt about it. They wanted me right up until weeks before they signed Connery.
He's like basically he was Bond for fucking 5 seconds. He's one fucking 25th of a Bond, like, which is basically nothing. He's as much Bond as Elizabeth Warren is Native American.
Up next, at number 5. Who is number 5?
Good afternoon.
Can I help you?
Yes, my name is Bond. James Bond. I'm looking for Dr. Goodhead.
You just found her.
A woman?
Up next at number 5, we have Roger Moore. Fine actor.
Very fine actor.
Good-looking guy.
Well, I wanted to have Roger Moore higher on the list personally because, you know, like you said, fine actor.
Yep.
Good dude. Overall, like, as Bond, he was one of the longest serving. I think he was the second longest after. I think Daniel Craig is the longest now, but I wanted to have him higher up, but just his movies, having gone back and rewatched them, for as iconic of some of the shit they have in it, some of the characters, some of the movies themselves.
Yeah.
You know, there was a lot of great stuff there, but it was just so dry and
Yeah.
so boring.
So long. Took forever to...
Like, yeah.
Yeah.
Your time's running out, Stromberg.
Yours too, Mr. Bond. Yours too. And faster than you think.
You shot your boat, Stromberg. Now it's my turn.
He's super old by the end too, so it's like it's not even like he's a cool stealth fucking freewheeling degenerate type spy that Bond should be.
Right.
He's just this like, oh, I'm running around. He's a how say, Miss Moneypenny.
I didn't say that.
And it's like he's this fucking 60-year-old dude like with these like chicks half his age.
What can I say, Moneypenny? Except that she is as attractive and as charming.
As I used to be.
It's just like, what the fuck is this? This isn't cool.
Yeah.
It's just, it was lame by the end. So
Not a lot of potency. Coming in at number 4, the last James Bond to smoke darts, which 100% gave him a boost in our eyes.
Need a light?
Timothy Dalton.
coming in at number 4. Tell me what you like about Timothy Dalton.
Well, for Dalton, my sort of adoration of him as a Bond is purely conceptual. Just the way he had the charisma down. He has this sort of like devilish, kind of mischievous look to him, and kind of like a mischievous smile, and it works so well with the character because it's somebody who loves awful, loves like really sort of surface level
encounters,
good times, you know what I mean?
Yep.
Miss Kennedy, would you get me a medium dry vodka martini?
What is
Shaken, not stirred.
Not even just like the sex, it's like the gambling and the drinking and everything is very...
Well, all the Bonds like
sort
that.
of... Yeah, but I'm saying his aura, it goes very well with that.
I agree, his portrayal as Bond had a lot of those things that you said, but he smiled way too fucking much for me. He's always just like... He had a lot of great characteristics, but he just ultimately didn't get it done for me. And even though his movies...
Yeah.
I know we're ranking it independently of his movies, but they were pure garbage.
Well, License to Kill was pretty awesome.
Yeah, they did feed that guy to a shark.
You keep it, old buddy.
Also, too, not the best head of hair.
No.
So that hurts you in a Bond rank, I think. Coming in at number 3.
Hello?
Mr. White, we need to talk.
Who is this?
The name's Bond. James Bond.
We have the most recent Bond, Daniel Craig. He's probably the Bond that they've actually delved into the character itself the most.
Yeah.
So he's had the most sort of he's had the most character development of any Bond, I think. But you could say that, but there are good sides and there are ups and downs to that, because a lot of people think that Bond should sort of still be the freewheeling degenerate that we all know and love.
I think it was necessary, though, to give Daniel Craig's Bond character development to keep him relevant to the modern age, because the whole concept of espionage has changed so much over time.
We're a democracy and we're accountable to the people we're trying to defend. We can't keep working in the shadows. There are no more shadows.
You don't get this, do you? Whoever's behind this, whoever's doing it, he knows us. He's one of us. He comes from the same place as Bond, the place you say doesn't exist. The shadows.
So how do you keep the character relevant in today's day and age? And I don't think they do an amazing job, but I think they do a decent enough job to keep the character relevant through contemporary times. And I think James Bond is Daniel Craig is a big part of making that happen.
Yeah, absolutely. And I also think it's worth mentioning, too, that, you know, there are so many... It's like James Bond movies were almost like 50% parody themselves back in the day, which is, I feel like, something people don't really realize, is that it's like James Bond movies were so tongue-in-cheek, but the problem being is that then parodies of James Bond started to crop up.
Yeah, baby, yeah!
Like Austin Powers, of course, but then Archer, too.
You have a certain thickness.
Like, the fact that there were other parodies coming out would kind of, in a way, forced the canon franchise to become a little bit more serious.
Yeah.
Because you can't have something that's half a parody and then have something that's a full parody of a parody. So it's like Austin Powers, Archer kind of took the comedic reins with stuff like that, so Bond movies had to be a little bit more serious. Also, notwithstanding the fact that, like, drama and action movies are typically just more serious now.
But overall, like, Daniel Craig, he looks fucking awesome. His hair's good.
Yeah, not really James Bond hair, though. I think that, I personally think the hair hurts him in that category.
Yeah,
I'm not a blonde Bond guy. Another thing, too, even though I had kind of just talked about how I'm a big fan of sort of like the more classic portrayal, I actually do like the different take they did on certain stuff. Like they turned certain old school traits of Bond into like sort of negative things, which is the way they would be viewed today. It's like they turned the sort of hard drinking thing into like alcoholism.
Investigators hunt for leads in what now appears to be a major terrorist attack in the heart of London.
But they didn't glorify it. Like, he was like a lush and he had a problem. And when he goes in the thing to like meet M, she's got like a couple fingers of scotch waiting for him because like he just needs it to get through the day. Like, they don't glorify it. It makes him look, and you know, and I like that part. And the other thing too, like when he fights and kills people and stuff, he's like ruthless. He's like a savage. And he's a much more hard-nosed Bond than we're used to, which I also think was cool. Like, if you look at him by modern-day standards, all the sort of classic traits, it was glamorous back then, but he's not really that great of a guy, you know, all things considered, all around. So it's like they kind of make it, they kept the same character traits, but they shot it through a lens so that you would know that they were problematic character traits.
Again, the ruthlessness of it like he's committed to the fact that he's in that life.
Right.
You know? Like, obviously I've never fucking murdered a person, but like...
That we know of.
I haven't. But, you know, I imagine that once you've done something like that, you know, there's no going back.
A lot of the times movies take place and I'm not just talking about Bond movies, a lot of time regular like character development movies take place at the point of making the decision, where it's like, are you really going to be this forever, blah, 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 blah. But his portrayal of Bond is well beyond the decision.
Daniel Craig.
Number 3.
Number 3. I would have had him higher, but hey.
Bond. James Bond.
Mr. Bond, I suppose you wouldn't care to, raise the limit?
I have no objections.
C'est pas possible, madame, c'est illégal, monsieur.
No.
C'est suivi, monsieur.
Looks like you're out to get me.
It's an idea at that.
He's very much the guy who, you know, kind of cemented the template for what, you know, from basically for what every other Bond would be judged by.
Yes.
So that's, you know, he is very much the benchmark.
Why wasn't Connery number 1? He's the classic Bond. He was the first Bond. He's the guy
well, he was the first Bond to, you know, make the franchise, popularize the franchise.
Yeah, it was the first. Yeah, he popularized the character, really.
Yeah, he absolutely did. And he did it with style, and he's super handsome, and he was awesome. But Connery might slip down to number 2 for no other reason than maybe just outdated behavior.
Yeah, there's some really fucked up shit.
So bad.
It really is.
It's so bad. I'm just saying, like, you and I aren't like,
oh yeah,
like
no, we're
bleeding
not,
heart, like
no.
everything back in the day was bad, blah blah blah. But even to us,
yeah,
it was like, okay.
Yeah, it would be a disservice to even be like, oh yeah, he had some problem. Like, Sean Connery as Bond did some fucked up shit, like out and out.
Except they did not have sort of like the artistic wherewithal to show that it was fucked up. It was just all glamorized completely.
And it's very much a product of the time period.
Sure.
Which isn't to excuse it, but it's sort of why
just more to understand.
It's there.
Yeah. I mean, he had the look, he had the hair, he had the charisma.
Yeah, the attitude.
It's the attitude, but it's not even just that. I think if we were ranking just unbridled confidence in Bonds, he would be number 1.
Madame, I've come to offer my sincere condolences. My dear Colonel Bouvard, I don't think you should have opened that car door by yourself.
He just, like, everything he said and did, he was 100% sure it was the right thing every time. Like, he just, like, he was a nothing in the rear view type of guy, which again kind of touches on the enviable qualities that they all that they always tried to, you know, they always tried to make him an enviable person. They always tried to make him be like, you know, like they even say it when they're making fun of it in Austin Powers. It's like women wanted to be with him and men wanted to be him. It's like that type of a thing. So they make this sort of like,
and Connery typifies that
100%, because he just like, it's like a guy who's going to lose sleep over nothing. He doesn't overthink anything. He doesn't rethink anything. He's just like, I am perfect, and just like goes forward with it.
That should keep him occupied for quite some time.
I'm beginning to like you, Mr. Bond.
Oh, call me James.
More than anyone I've met in a long time, James.
Well, what on earth are we going to do about it?
Yes, what?
I'll tell you at dinner.
Where?
Well, I know the best place in town.
Which looks cool in movies. The only problem is, as an actual quality, it is so awful.
Yeah.
But it looks cool when you're like, you know,
you're doing
a secret agent's main character.
Yeah, like, I mean, just like smoking cigarettes in general. Like, it looks cool.
Yeah, it looks amazing. Makes everybody look cool.
But it's not good.
But you shouldn't do it.
You definitely shouldn't.
Unless you want to.
You should just smoke weed.
But yeah, but like you said, like the whole thing about, Connery basically exemplifying these sort of traits and the sort of stylistic points, but at the same time he cultivated them, really.
Yeah.
It's like they became the important traits because of him.
Yeah.
And again, I'm not taking anything away from Ian Fleming's novels, but like it wasn't like household stuff until Sean Connery did.
So, coming in at number 1.
You wouldn't kill me. You'd miss me.
Yes.
Dive, Bond!
I never miss.
Pierce Brosnan.
Coming in
at number 1.
Brosnan being number 1 is a controversial choice because, and we've emphasized this throughout,
right.
It is not based on movies themselves.
No, it's not. Because if you want to talk about quality of movies, he had what, 4? 4 James Bond movies? He had 4 James Bond.
3 of them were absolute fucking diarrheas.
I don't know. I had somebody try to tell me that Quantum of Solace was worse than Die Another Day, and I almost fucking
killed them.
I literally almost fucking murdered them. I was so perplexed. I couldn't even fathom how they had arrived.
I liked
at
Quantum
that.
of Solace.
Die Another Day is just. I mean, I can't even. I don't even.
It's
know where to
horseshit.
begin. It's just.
It's 3 of his movies.
Fire.
Yeah, 3 of his movies are just crap. The World Is Not Enough had some redeeming qualities.
Namely, Sophie Marceau.
And Robert Carlyle.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, you're right.
Because that was like a fiendish sort of bad guy.
I like the bad, and I always like the bad guys who are like weird looking, like they had an accident or something like that. I love that.
The thing that really seals Brosnan, again, is the portrayal as Bond, as cemented by GoldenEye.
Yeah.
The name's Bond. James Bond.
Brosnan's Bond just fucking has, strictly from a portrayal standpoint, has everything.
Exactly. I couldn't have said it better myself. He is the all-encompassing James Bond. He gets the girls, he's driven, he's incomprehensibly good looking with by far the best head of hair. Which that shit matters when you're ranking Bonds.
He actually still has hair.
He absolutely still has great hair.
He still looks awesome.
He's still
just
ridiculously good looking. The thing that really tips the scale in his favor, from my standpoint, is not just the ladies' man-ness, because they all have that.
It's the fact that he remained a gentleman. He was never a tool. He sort of perfected this simultaneous vortex of like being a pig but a gentleman at the same time. It was so the minutia that it took to do it that correctly. Because whenever you're sort of envious of a James Bond type ladies man, you're always like, yeah, that's cool, but I would never actually want to act like that because he's a fucking tool. Yeah, and he was never a tool. It was always perfect. It was such like high science the way he did his like euphemisms and innuendos and the way he picked up chicks, and he fucking looked amazing while he was doing it, and it brought the glamour back, but in a respectful way, and it was able to bring the glamour back to the modern age. And because it's stuff like it was the 90s, like sort of over glamorizing stuff like that had kind of been dispensed with, except he did it in such brilliant fashion that it was a totally updated version of it, and it's like there's no part of him you can hate. No, I mean, even though you're like so jealous of his life and stuff like that, but he did the grit work, but he did a ton of grit work in those movies, but they always had plenty of scenes with him in the suit with the martinis and stuff like that, and it's just his X factor is indescribable. Like when he speaks, it's like you're fucking glued to him, and he's so understated.
Which is what you need, which is what ideally a spy type character would be. Understated and under the radar. So he's like
quiet, calm, cool.
I'm alone.
Yeah, exactly.
Not the douchebag cool. It's the quiet, calm, cool.
So you always see him in the tuxedo with the perfectly coiffed hair and fucking suits.
But he's still keeping a low profile.
Yeah, exactly.
It's perfect.
And he really did a great job with that.
He really, really did. He is absolutely.
And his movies were the first ones to kind of start to give his character a bit more dynamic as you know, rather than being just this one-dimensional sort of...
Yeah, definitely
Dude,
the first multi-dimensional movie.
especially the first, like, even the first outing, GoldenEye, it gives you the whole thing about how he had this sort of fraternal bond with Trevelyan, who's played by Sean Bean.
Oh, incredible villain.
One of the best.
One of the best, for sure.
And you obviously, you know that they go way back, so over the course of the movie, there is a sort of psychological struggle that Bond is facing within himself, because his enemy used to be his friend and somebody that he was close to and shared a lot, and he's obviously somebody that can't trust a lot of people, and this dude was somebody he once trusted with his life to now be his arch enemy.
He was your friend, Trevelyan. And now he's your enemy and you will kill him. It is that simple.
In a word, yes.
Unless he kills you first.
I tell you.
You think I'm impressed? All of you with your guns, your killing, your death, for what? So you can be a hero? All the heroes I know are dead.
Talia, listen to me.
How can you act like this? How can you be so cold?
It was also the first modern Bond in the sense that it was his first movie was the first Bond movie to take place after the fall of the Soviet Union, which was such a central plot line to Bond up until that point. You always had a built-in enemy in the KGB and the Russians, which they still sort of played to in GoldenEye by having sort of these renegade sort of criminal organizations that were loosely associated with, you know, factions from the ex-Soviet Union days. Right. So it was the first Bond to kind of be imagined in a post-Cold War setting, which was such a huge, like global event in and of itself that you sort of needed to acknowledge it in a way, and they kind of brought the character around in a way that made sense, that allowed it to sort of continue.
Really on all fronts, the portrayal is just too good. It's like I almost don't really have the words. It's like you look at him and you fucking glued to him. It's an electric performance. He encapsulates. Exactly. He has it. He just got it. But he encapsulates what you would really picture James Bond to be.
For England. For England, Alec.
For England, James?
No. For me.
Anyways, to recap the list of greatest Bonds, according to the Shitty Beatles, we have coming in at number 6, The Fart, George Lazenby. Number 5, Roger Moore. Number 4,
Timothy Dalton.
Number 3,
Daniel Craig.
Number 2,
Sean Connery.
And number 1,
the most handsome man of all time, Pierce Brosnan.
Coming in
at number 1.
Number 1.
Best of all time.
Stay tuned for another episode of the Shitty Fucking Beatles, which is us. Send us hate mail and send us direct messages and follow our shit, because we're trying to be fucking YouTube stars and we need lots of content. So just make sure you watch. Even if you want to just fucking watch these videos, like, just put them on and then go do something else. You don't even have to watch them, honestly. We just need the view hours. Seriously. Yeah. I don't give a fuck if you watch this. I do. No, I'm just kidding. I love you. I wouldn't lie to you.